Hi, I don't know if you remember me, Adela from South Africa, and it's been a very, very long time. And I just don't know why I stopped. I guess a lot of insecurities and not knowing if I'm doing the right thing and going through all the motions of making a podcast and then have not even 50 people watch it. So, and that's when the insecurities kick in. It's because I'm not good enough. It's because people don't like what I'm making. But I'm watching a lot of podcasts at the moment because I'm mostly at home. And I see a lot of first episodes coming by. And then I thought, well, maybe mine will also pass your viewing channel or what you're viewing, and then maybe hopefully some more people will watch me. So I'll give it a try, but I'm going to keep it short and sweet. No editing, no show notes. Everything that I make is easy to Google. So, and I'll be clear at what I'm making. So I'll just be showing what I'm currently working on and maybe what I've recently finished, because to go through everything that I've knitted and crocheted the last year will be impossible. And I also started to weave. I've got, can I say it out loud? I've got 3 Ashford Knitters looms, the 30 centimeter, the 50 centimeter, and the 70 centimeter. It's a new rabbit hole, and I mostly thought that I will use the stash that I have to weave because it's much faster and it's easy to start a project. But I have bought some cotton to weave some hand towels with, or maybe table runner. So I'll just show you maybe, well, it's not actually easy to show what's on my loom, but I will show you what's recently off my loom and what I'm knitting or crocheting. So as I said, my name is Adela and I live in Pretoria in South Africa, where it's been winter at the moment, and it's very nice to be back in wearing all the winter clothes. At the moment I'm wearing my lady fingers that I finished last year. It was a knit along by Mortanda last year. Mine is done mostly out of Indibel fibers. She was bar, but now she's Indibel fibers from South Africa. I've got quite a few of her DK 3-ply DK merino yarns. It's a lovely base to work with, and it's comfortable, and it's a perfect yarn for our winter. It's not too hot, but still cozy enough. My house is very cold, so I'm wearing all the winter warmies today. I had an issue that the neck was too open for my liking. I don't like it when I'm cold, and when I'm wearing a nice cozy sweater and my neck is too open. And I think it's the way I'm built, that I've got a little bit, I think I've got a little bit of a bump at the back of my neck here. And so I think I need a higher ribbing, and maybe a little bit more short rows in the back. I've seen sweaters where they do the short rows in the ribbing, and that looks actually quite nice to me. I might try that in the future. But what I did is I unpicked the cast on edge here, and then I knitted just in plain stocking stitch. I knitted more short rows. There is some short rows, but I think it was not enough. So I knitted more short rows here, and then I did more 1x1 ribbing. I actually quite like the look of this, and I might incorporate that in the future in one of my sweaters. I've never seen a design that is like this, and I like it's like a double ribbing, and then because of the way I picked up the stitches, the ribbing is not quite in line with each other, but I quite like the look of that. So it's very comfortable. The speckled yarn was a one-of-a-kind yarn that I had in my stash, the same also 3-ply. And yes, what happened was that I knitted the sleeves up to here with all the yarn that I had, all of the blue that I had. And when I wore it once, I decided the sleeves are too short, so all I had left was some of the pink. I decided to just unravel the cast off and knit a few more rows of the pink. Because I've got long arms, so I always knit and knit and knit and knit, and then my sleeves are still not long enough. But I'm happy with the sweater. It's very comfortable and nice to wear. I'm actually quite proud of the no holes here, but I think I pick up 2 extra stitches in the corners when I pick up for the sleeves, for knitting the sleeves, and then you can just do decreases with them, or you can keep them if you like, because I like more positive ease on my sleeves. And then I suppose I might have used the end of the yarn when I have to weave it in to just close any extra or small holes still visible. The cushion that you see here was the Anna and Carlos knit along they had last year. They came out with a square, I think every week, or I'm not sure, every fortnight, I'm not sure. I only did these 16 square, 4 by 3, 12 squares. I did 12 squares, and then I just used a cushion. I've got a few of these, as you can see. There's a lot of them here, and we buy them here at a local shop here, Mr. Price, and they have them for a very reasonable price, and I just buy some of them, and then whatever I knit or crochet, I just attach to these cushions. There's more. So I used yarn that I bought when I was in Norway. The variegated yarns are from Fjord Fibers, from Gillian, which is actually from South Africa. We met her there, and we had a very nice chat with her. And the minis are some of her yarns, and in the background, the blue and the cream colors are from Fennel Garn, also from Norway. And then I just used a sole base to join the squares together. I think I crocheted, yes, I think I crocheted around the squares and then joined them in that way. Nice colorful cushion that I see every day, and that lights up my day. Okay, let me quickly show what I made, or what's finished. In the weaving, something I've been wanting to do for a while now is to use color spun cotton. I used what she calls a sock weight 4-ply cotton to make a color gamp. I only made small sized fabric just as a reference for me. I used 16 colors for the warp, as you can see here. There's all the warp colors, and with a dark, just 2 warp ends in a dark color to separate the colors. And then for the weft I used the same colors in the same sequence. So it gives you quite a nice idea of how colors, if they mix well together, or if you don't like the combination of those two colors. You can see, let me show you a sample, or an example, let me rather say that. Here's a combination of yellow and red. And then this is in the, where the weft, where the weft is used for the red is used for the weft. That's a yarn that you weave with. And then if you go down here, this is where I just see. It looks a little bit pink on the screen, but it is actually a red. This is where the red is the warp and the weft is the yellow. And that looks different. So if you look again at that square, compared to this one. So that's an interesting study. And then I had some warp left after I've used all 16 the colors. I had some warp left, and I just played with 2 strands in one shaft, but I wove with one color and beat, and then wove with a second color in the same shaft, and that gives you quite a different look. I want to weave a whole piece of cloth in this way without the dark separators in between, just to use all the cottons that are left. I think that's what I'm going to do with that. This I did at we had a very nice workshop class with Glynis Brooke. She's our local weaving teacher. I think she's the only really that's willing to teach people on knitters looms or Richard Hiddle looms. She also imports the Ashford products. So we always go to a weekend or a few days at Remhoogte Lodge, about an hour's drive from Pretoria. And then she comes from Hoedspruit, and then she teaches us different techniques and help us with choosing colors or work out how we want to use the colors in a certain project or whatever. I also made a scarf there. It's quite long, as you can see. And for this, I warped with lace weight, a 2-ply lace weight yarn, merino, or sometimes it's a merino silk, and others are merino mohair, because you can't warp with a merino single lace. So I've gathered some plied lace that I had, and I warped with different colors, sometimes 2 strands through the same slot, sometimes 3 strands. I just randomly took strands and warped them, and then I just for the weft I used strands, double strand of the lace, and then I actually, this is right side, I did some warp pickups, and then at the reverse side the warp pickups became weft pickups. So the fabric are quite reversible. I really like it. gorgeous and soft and very light, very light in weight. I must still get used to this phone because I've never podcasted with this phone. I've had it for about a year or longer, but the camera are to the right side, and I must get used to just looking into the camera, of showing stuff into the camera. This is the Bandana brioche cowl from Lavagna Patricella that I also finished recently in merino singles. The light speckled color is from Miss Lamotte, and the dark speckle is from Wishbone. Very privileged to have well-known and much desired yarn from very well-known indie dyers in our country, and I have a few in my stash. So this is very nice. It's like a bandana style. You start and then you do the brioche in the round, and then you do it flat. So it's actually a very beginner friendly pattern, because Lavagna also has a few videos on a YouTube channel that you can have a look at. So it's the brioche bandana cowl. This is the fingering one, and doing brioche in the round is very easy. It's I think it's a good way to learn brioche. And then when you're quite confident in knitting brioche in the round, you knit it flat and then you do some decreases. So this is very soft and very comfortable. I can actually wear it with this lady fingers of mine. Okay, and what I'm working on is the Crofter's Cape. It's the free hat pattern that comes out every year for Shetland Wool Week, and my dream to go there someday. It gives you quite a few color options or color combinations, and we are lucky enough to have the Jamieson and Smith yarns at Arthur Bales, a local yarn shop not in Johannesburg, but close enough. And I just bought a few, I think actually to try last year's skip. I think last year's one was the Katie skip. But when the Crofter skip came out this year, I decided, well, I can just as well start with that one. So I just got the colors that I have, and I'm just using what I have. And this is as far as I am at the moment. So the pattern calls for two of the dark background colors, but I only have one, but I've got two dark colors. So I'm just going to, I use this one for the start, and then now I'm using this one. I love the tonal mold effect of these yarns. So I'm just going with what I have, and I think it's working at the moment. I will see. I love the way that the Jamieson and Smith knits up color work. It's so neat and perfect. I just have a pretty little box that I keep it in. I think if you work with pretty yarns and knitting something pretty, you can just as well keep it in a pretty box. And something else I've started is I've got this idea in my head of a very nice and cozy raglan jumper with sweater with lots of positive ease that I can wear in the house, that keeps me warm. My house is very cold. We don't have central heating in our houses because our winters are short and our summers are long. I suppose you can use the aircon to set it on a heating setting, but to heat up this house will take so much electricity, and electricity is quite expensive here and not reliable. So I'm using, I've got it's dye house yarns. Unfortunately, it's one of the dyes that stopped dyeing. I wish my camera is not focusing very well. It's from Dye House Yarns, and I'm just using different colors that I have. This is the one color. It's a 2-ply worsted. I've got this color, and then also this dark navy tonal, very nice dark tonal navy. And I frocked almost the entire what I've knitted so far last night, because I didn't like the gauge. So I haven't got a lot at the moment, and it's on small circular needles still. So I decided I want quite a long ribbing, not a turtleneck, but something higher up to keep me warm. Just a 2x2 ribbing, and I've just completed the short rows at the back, and I think I prefer this gauge. So I first did it with 4.5mm needles, but now I've switched to 4.25mm needles. Unfortunately, this is tulip bamboo needles. Unfortunately, they do color a bit if you use a lot of blue yarns, as I'm doing. Then they do take on the color of the yarn, but that's okay. I like to knit with them because they are easy to work with, and the bamboo is very light in my hands, and I don't they feel very comfortable. So my idea is one of the patterns I actually had to buy. I had the whatever sweater pattern, that's a basic raglan recipe from Julie Knits in Paris, but I wasn't sure, that's a DK pattern, but I wasn't sure how many stitches to cast on for a high cozy neckline. And I really searched and searched, and I couldn't find a pattern that had the look that I wanted. I've got a certain look, that's always my problem. I've got a certain look in my head of how I want the sweater to look, and then a certain idea of how the sweater should look, and then I can't find a pattern. So I always work with about 3 or 4 patterns to knit my sweaters. So what I have here, what I'm working with, 3 patterns, as you can see, is the whatever sweater pattern from Julie Knits in Paris. I also looked at this, it's tea with jam and bread from Heidi Kermeyer. It also gave me a good idea, but still the neckline wasn't high and cozy enough, but it gave me an idea of, for my size, how many stitches to cast on, and maybe start with a few less stitches and then just increase. That's what I did at the end. I've also got the Cozy Classic Raglan sweater from Jessie Made Designs. That's also a very simple raglan sweater. I had to look for the gauge that I think will work with this yarn and the needle size. So the Cozy Classic raglan is, I think, a fingering and a mohair held together, but that gives me a quite good idea of how many stitches to cast on for a worsted weight sweater. And then the whatever sweater is just a recipe. It's just a few pages, and it's a very cheap, very affordable pattern. But as I said, there's no short rows, and I need short rows in my back, so I had to look at other patterns to give me an idea of the how to do the short rows. How far to do the first short rows. I think most of the patterns do it the same way. They come just past the front raglan. I think for a circular yoke like this, or for a raglan, it's more or less the same. You start with short rows that comes just past the front raglan. So if you do a round sweater, a round yoke sweater, you will start, your short rows should also come to about here on your collarbones. I think that's more or less the go-to way of doing it, and then they get longer and longer. So the first ones are up to about here, and then they go a little bit longer. This one, I think maybe that's part of the issue with the sweater, why it didn't fit me properly around my neck, is I think the short rows are too short. I think if they came right up to the front, up to my collarbones, I might have had a more comfortable fit. So what else? Okay, so I started with 98 stitches, and then I just after the ribbing, I increased stitches up to, I think I had to increase 16 stitches to get to the stitch amount for my size, to start with the raglan shaping. So that's where I'm at now. I could have been much further if I didn't have to frock the entire yoke last night. Okay, that's about it that I wanted to show you today. I think just one other thing is socks. I started knitting socks just, I think, a week before lockdown last year. I started to knit socks and fell very hard and very far into that rabbit hole. I enjoy knitting socks that I said I will never do. And I enjoy wearing them. I've got them on my feet now at the moment, and they are so cozy and comfortable and warm. So this is a pair of socks I'm busy with at the moment. It's with Little Rascals. It's a colorway that I bought from Luna Fibers last week, and I just couldn't put it away. I just had to wind it and start a pair of socks with them ASAP. So this is what it looks like. Very bright and a lovely bright colorway. It's a 4-ply 100% merino, which is fine, especially for the way we wear our socks. We don't wear our socks in our houses without shoes or slippers or anything, and our winters are short. So I think if you are going for walks, you should wear socks with a little bit more sturdy yarn. But for the way I wear my socks, 100% merino is fine, and then I just use a yarn with some nylon in it for the heels and the toes, and then it's fine. I'm using 2.25 Jiaku needles. I decided I'm going to use 2.25 millimeter for all my superwash yarns, socks with superwash yarns. And I did corrugated ribbing. This is a Nazi Habit queso, yarn with some nylon in it. I did a corrugated ribbing. I think I could have done this ribbing with a 2.5 millimeter needles, but it's fine. I can get it over my feet, just about get it over my feet. I've got a high instep, so I always have that problem. And it's just a shortish sock. 30. I did a total of, I think, 16 rows for the corrugated ribbing and 30 rows for the leg. And then my heel flap and heel turn is in one of Open Sky yarns, also with nylon in. And heel, my gusset. I like the way the yarn played up in the gusset. It's different. One side is green and the other side is purple. And this is actually from the Jelly Roll socks. The idea is to do this like a ribbing kind of thing, color work ribbing in the to hug your foot itself. It's very comfortable. I switched to 2.5 millimeter needles for this, just like a 1x1 color work actually. Also with a nice purple from Dye House Yarns. I've got all the little pretty, all the colors that I'm using. And I don't think I'm going, I've got these as well. I think I might stick to these. I'm not sure. I decided that this will be very colorful wild socks, and I might use another color for the toe, or go back to this pink color or the green maybe for the toe. I'm not sure yet. Oh, and because I've got a high instep for this, I did 19. I think I had 34 stitches on the back needle, and I did 19 rows for the 19 repeats of the slip stitch heel. So that's 38 rows then. And because I don't want this decreases for the gusset to go on too long, I do some decreases. Most of the time I do 8 repeats. So I've got 8 decreases on each side for the gusset, and then for the last decreases, so I do 8 decreases, and then for the last, say, 4 decreases, I do simultaneously do decreases at the bottom of the foot as well. There you can see them, because otherwise this will not be in the will not support my my foot at the correct spot. So and then you don't have that long, because I think a normal 16 by 2 heel flap will give you 12 decreases at each side. But if you have more, then it goes on quite longer, and this gets you to your 64 stitches or whatever you need for your foot. This gets you there a little bit quicker. And I quite like this decreases at the bottom of the foot. It hugs my heel. It's very comfortable. So I think that's what I will definitely always do from now on. Gives you like a proper heel, what do you call it? Bottom of your foot actually, there. Very comfortable. Okay, is there anything else I can say about these socks? I'm not sure. I don't think so. No, I think that's about it. And I think that's where I'm going to leave you. I think I've shown enough. That's what I'm working on at the moment. Next time I might show you something else that I finished, maybe a sweater or cardigan or whatever that I finished or worked on, and I hope that you will like this video and encourage me to keep on, or to keep on with my second effort of podcasting. I feel the desire to share what I'm working on and share my ideas, or um, if I always do modifications on sweaters and cardigans, and I've got lots of ideas of stuff that I'm working on, and I would like to share that with you, but I need the support if because it does take some effort from my part, and if I know that you enjoy the videos, I might do them more often and continue with it. So please let me know. Please give me a like and tell your friends. And if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you're not from South Africa, then maybe you can see what we are working on here in the southern point of Africa, and the yarns we use. I know it's different from the yarns that are mostly available in the northern hemisphere or in America, but we've got gorgeous yarns and very talented indie dyers, and I like to support them. And this is one of the ways that we can all support them, is if I can tell you what yarns I'm using, then maybe they can get more exposure that way. So thank you for watching, if you made it up to here. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Goodbye.